This is the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast, where we have conversations with everyday martial artists about their histories and how martial arts influence their daily lives. You are listening to the abbreviated version of this podcast, which is the first 20 minutes or so of the show. Please consider supporting the show by subscribing on our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/MALMAG, and for about the price of one coffee shop coffee per month, you can get access to 4 new podcasts each month, 1 week before their YouTube release dates. You also have access to all of our existing shows, which at this point is about 100 hours of shows for you to enjoy. Individual shows can be purchased at our Gumroad page. That is malmag.gumroad.com. If you're looking for some sticks for FMA, some cool t-shirts, or even a course on Dos Manos, have a stop by martialartslifestylemagazine.com and click on the store tab or on the courses tab for that course. This week I get on Zoom and I connect to Dayton, Ohio, and I talk with Jeremiah Lovejoy. We talk about how he got involved in martial arts starting in Taekwondo, how he made the jump into Southeast Asian martial arts and Jeet Kune Do, and his love for Silat and teaching the martial arts, and much more. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome to the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast. And today I'm on Zoom. I'm connecting to Ohio, which seems to be a place for great martial artists because I've been connected to Ohio several times already. And I know a lot of martial art people in Ohio. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the water there or something that's springing up all these very interesting martial art people. But this is an old friend of mine that I've been looking forward to chatting with because I look forward to chatting with him every time he's in town. So the funny thing is there's mutual friends. There's a lot of funny stories here, and I think this will be a good time. So welcome Jeremy or Jeremiah, however you want to be called, Lovejoy, to the show.
Thank you, Tim. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. And I'll call you one of the two things that you want to be called as opposed to, something else.
You can pick.
I just know you as Jeremy.
That works for me. Just be yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, I guess, I start all these things just, diving right in. Let us know how you got involved in martial arts, like where, when, how, that sort of thing.
Whoa, just go right to it, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. It's a long story. I haven't told this one in a while. I should have known you were going to start with this. I was forced into martial arts at 5.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was May of 1982.
Oh my God, this sounds like so traumatic that you...
Well, it was actually like the wisdom of my parents, because inside the household as a child, I was wild. I was a handful, but outside of the household, I was very shy. So you remember in the early 80s, late 70s, there was a cartoon called Hong Kong Phooey?
Hell yeah. One of my favorites. Could probably still guarantee you I could actually sing the theme song.
I have no doubt. I remember watching that as a child, 5 years old, and I would stand behind my dad's recliner and just kick it repeatedly with him in it, driving him insane, absolutely insane. And he would ask me, hey, son, you want to go sign up for martial arts? I was like, no, daddy, no. I was so shy, but I was a terror in the household. And one day he finally asked me, he's like, you want to go for ice cream? Of course. I was like, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And instead,
like how you trick your dog to go to the vet, man.
It's pretty funny because en route, we never made it to ice cream. He took me to the local martial arts school, and apparently he had already signed me up. So he just he pulled up, dropped me off, and that was it. I was stuck there. And I instantly fell in love with it. And I've been in it ever since.
Wow. So what was the martial art that you were you were abandoned at?
Oh, well, like so many others in the US, it was Taekwondo.
Right. Yeah,
You
I mean that's
know,
the Midwest. That's
that's
what we
right.
had. Taekwondo and karate for the most part.
Uh-huh. And I was in that from 5.5 until 10 years old, and just obsessed. It worked perfectly for my personality, and it was a huge outlet. A lot of stories there.
Wow.
And but it wasn't the art I wanted to do. My
Hmm.
dad was unconventional, and I remember he let me also at the same time in 1982 watch the first Conan movie.
Oh wow. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Looking back, I'm not sure. No, I don't have kids, but I'm not sure I would have
Especially
let
at that
my
age.
kid.
The
Exactly.
funny thing is, you and I started this honestly the same time, 1982, and around the same time of the year. But I was 12,
Hmm.
and I watched Conan, and it's different. I could see as a 12-year-old because I'm still a little freaked out by it at 12, especially where he turns into a snake and shit like that.
Yeah.
I can imagine at 5. Oh my god.
Well, that whole warrior thing with the sword and that time period.
Yeah.
I remember running around the neighborhood with a little yellow wiffle ball bat, and
Yep.
just that having that fantasy. So
Right. And I think
Taekwondo
most
never, yeah,
grown men of our age still do anytime you pick something
apparently
up.
so. Uh, uh, and I stayed in that and got my black belt and when I was 10. But I was also obsessed with boxing. You remember how big boxing was in the 80s?
Oh God, yeah. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And watching
I mean, we
finding
were coming off Muhammad Ali, was big in the
exactly.
70s and retired, Larry Holmes, Sugar Ray Leonard, all that stuff.
Oh yeah. And I would get try to get a hold of VHS tapes and watch those old fights. And me and my friends, especially my cousin, who was always a better martial artist than me, we would sit around and watch boxing tapes for
Hmm.
hours. We were obsessed. So by 10 years old, I quit Taekwondo and got into boxing.
Ah.
Yeah, and just loved
So
it.
how important was Rocky 3 then to you, right?
Oh yeah, I loved all the Rocky movies. Uh, those old 80s movies, those still have my heart. I love those.
Yeah. I mean, did you do a lot of training like the training montage in Rocky 3? I know I did.
Oh, of course, of course. Those spoke to my soul. You know, I had punching bags hanging up outside in the yard, and inviting kids over to spar and try to
Of
make that
course.
reality. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's good. So did you go to a boxing gym then for that?
Yeah, there was some boxing, but mainly we started doing it more on our own. And my cousin was a boxer, and his dad and my father boxed in the military. And my dad was a fan of the School of Hard Knocks, so he would just kind of, I'll get beat up a little bit. But he had his own wisdom on how to raise me, and it worked. I didn't get into the Filipino and Indonesian arts until age 16.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when I fell in love with Kali and Silat.
Well, I mean, that's a so 16 for you would have been, let's see, I'm doing the math, 13 years. So we're into the 90s, yeah?
Yeah, like
Okay.
93. And I
So
went,
at least it was getting a little more available at that time. That's funny because you and I kind of started in that about the same time then too. I was like 94 right after Brandon League passed is when I
oh,
found
wow.
an instructor and I got into it. But yeah, it's like that, talk about something that you could read about, right? A lot in the
Uh-huh.
magazines because I'd read about it from the 80s easily when I got into it. I was reading it in all the magazines, and I saw it for the first time back then as well when there were some guys. So at the first school that I studied at, that were so I took the karate class there, and there was like some other contractors, I guess we call them subcontractors or subleasers, that would rent space. And they were friends of my karate instructor. One guy was a kung fu guy, and he and one of his students had gone to a Guro Dan seminar at Fred Degerberg's in Chicago,
Hmm.
which was probably early on in the whole seminar thing. And or maybe it was just Guru being a guest there. I don't know exactly, but I'm thinking it was probably one of the early seminars. And I remember them hitting the heavy bags with sticks. And I was asking, like, what is this? And they were telling me, and I had read about it. So I connected what they were telling me to articles that I'd read, but articles are photos. You don't exactly see live movement in it. So, once I heard the names and the live movement, I'm like, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. But your ability to find that as a regular class was really tough.
Yes, it was. I stumbled upon it by accident. In 1993, um, I was I went to this martial arts school to learn Muay Thai. I heard there was this new Muay Thai instructor.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I wanted to go check it out. And then in the corner, there was this little Filipino guy, and he was over in the corner doing Sinawali, and I'd never seen someone move like that before. And I was like, what is that? And I found out he had a class after the Muay Thai class. And his name was Jose Connor. And he was a student of, in his Filipino martial art class, he combined several things. He was a student of Dr. G of Bondo.
Oh, wow.
He studied a little with Edgar Saluti, and he studied a lot with Mandi Muda, with Herman Suwanda.
Oh, okay.
And of course, a little Guro Dan seminars, but he wasn't ranked under Guro Dan. And so he had this mishmash class of, we would warm up with this Harimau work, and we would go into Sinawali, and I instantly fell in love. Once I took that class, it was done. I was absolutely obsessed and fascinated with it. Uh,
Wow, that's cool. And then the Muay Thai, did you hang with that as well?
yeah, I stayed in Muay Thai at that school for about 2 years, and I was doing so Muay Thai, Filipino arts, and the West Javanese style Silat. And I didn't see my first Guru Dan seminar until 1995. And yeah, that first time seeing Guru Dan is it's always an awesome, humbling
Oh
experience.
my God. Yeah,
Um,
that's for sure. I mean, I obviously seen clips, I've seen him in the films, but I don't think I understood how much he could dump on you knowledge wise so quickly. And it's funny because even my instructor didn't really warn me in that way. And I mean, he trained me very well. I had 10 years, a great fundamental base of Kali and JKD um, when I came to the academy. But I wasn't ready for the pace. I mean, I was knowledge wise. It kind of blew me away how fast. I remember stepping in there and doing. I was like, "Oh my God, wow!" And then when they hit stuff, and it's funny because one of my private clients yesterday was asking me to work the soppet and binding the stick and dagger techniques with him,
mhm.
and it just made me reminisce of the first time I had seen that, which was I'd never seen it. 10 years of practicing it until I came to the academy and watched. Pretty sure it was Damon Carl and Keith Davis just flawlessly whipped through one of them, and I went, "Oh my God, what was that?" I'm like, I understand what I saw. I mean, as far as what it was, a stick and dagger technique, and they all like locked up and threw and disarmed. And I'm like, but I've never seen anything like that. Like, I can't wait till I understand that. And now I'm teaching it, but it was cool.
Yeah, that pursuit of excellence and that ongoing practice and keeping the skill high that Guru Dan exemplifies so well. That really just spoke to my heart. To be able to do something like martial arts where you can express your body that way, and it's the big reason that I'm so drawn to the Inosanto family. And
Right,
yeah, I mean, there's so much to be said about that.
right. And it's definitely something about Silat, I think, that pulled you in because I think you're one of the people when I think of, it's interesting when we think about different people in the larger in the larger Inosanto circles. And there are people that I think about as amazing, and which is a lot of them. In fact, everybody I think is phenomenal when they come in. I love it, from people who are just new instructors to people that have been there for a long time. But there are people that you can see that there are one of the things that they all of a sudden it's just like it's them, it's part of them, like in a way, not to say that it isn't with other people, but there's like this special embracing of something. And with some people, and I can tell, and maybe that they've got a Filipino ethnic background to them, and so they've done this dive that not only includes the art itself, but there's a whole cultural experience to them with it. Or there's people that are obviously, I mean, Muay Thai is just that thing that oozes from them. They're good at the other stuff too, but Muay Thai is a thing that oozes. You're one of the Silat guys for me. You're like one of those handful that when we go, okay, who's a good representative of Silat in this family? You're one of them that definitely pops into my mind for that. That seems to be something that took you and grabbed you, and you went, okay, me and Silat, we're married at the hip.
Yeah, Silat does have my heart. I love the martial arts in general, but there's just something to the Silat, and I don't know what it is. I don't actually have to, for myself currently, I'm 40, I turned 48 this year. And I feel like currently I don't need to have a real answer of why I love it. I just do. And
Not really.
And I honor
Yeah,
that.
I agree with you.
And yeah, I got in the Silat in 93 at the same time. And I've studied with several teachers over the years. And, I didn't actually move to LA. I lived in LA for just under a year. I moved there in 2008. And I visited the academy before that a few times. And, I actually kind of got into the instructor program under Guro Dan late, I think. I didn't enroll in the instructor program till 2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it was always a goal, but I was just focused on other systems. And, but,
No, that's an interesting story. I didn't know you were here in LA 2008. I mean, I was getting at the very end of the years when I went to Central Asia for a little bit.
Okay.
So it was kind of I think a relatively busy year for me, for
Yeah,
sure. But I didn't realize that you'd lived here
I
at that
did.
point.
Lived a few blocks from the academy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Back when it was affordable, relatively speaking.
Meaning the rent.
The rent, yes,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rent.
Because I mean, the academy is like the same price it's been since I came there in 2004. That's what's crazy about that.
Yeah, that does help.
But yeah, the rent. Oh my God, especially if you're talking about you were living in Marina.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's nuts down there now.
Mm.
I'm thinking. I remember. So there's that building. You can see it. It's not on beach, but you can see it. It's actually on Washington. It's like gray with the yellow trim, and it's 3 or 4 stories high. Because I remember when it went up, and they initially put like some banners on with the prices, and it was like something like 3,200 for a 2 bedroom and 20 something for a one bed. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't put that up. That won't get anybody in here. Like, and that's, I mean, that would be, people would consider that a cheap price now, which is scary.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'm like, man, that's what people with a decent job might make in a month. I mean, like, how do you afford that for something to rent? Like, I think you'd buy a house, but then again, the houses are all $2 million down there. So
Ouch.
yeah, yeah.
But
So did you come? Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. I was just talking about Los Angeles. I still
Oh
love
yeah, I was just
coming
curious. Did
out
you come
there
here for
at
that
least once a
specifically?
year. I would prefer to come out twice a year, but
Yeah.
it can be pretty challenging.
Now was the location relocation to LA? So are you from Ohio originally?
I am. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio,
Okay.
and a great place to grow up for the martial arts. Strange enough, It was like this
Oh
little mecca
yeah.
of the martial arts. It's kind of unknown in a way. And Ohio, at least Southwest Ohio, it's not cornfields and flatland. It's rolling
Hmm.
hills and deciduous forest and rock cliffs, great places to hike, great place to bicycle. And there was just maybe even 10 years ago, no, 14 years ago, when I opened up my current school under the name of Dayton Kali Academy. There were 7 Filipino martial arts schools in Dayton,
Really?
Ohio. Different teachers.
Wow.
Crazy. It's now down. I think there's only 4 Filipino martial art instructors. Um, but yeah, also, in Dayton, Ohio, there's the Wright-Patterson Air Force Museum or
Uh-huh.
base, the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So there's this international community, you know,
Right.
and the martial arts school I was forced into at 5.5 years old. There was a lot of Air Force brats, Air Force kids.
Right.
So I
Right.
grew up, there's mixed gender. There was Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Filipino, South American. There was this mishmash of different people from different cultures. So to grow up into that at such a young age, it really kind of offset what maybe the Midwest is stereotypically known for. And
Right.
like, maybe close-minded, ultra conservative, not well educated or something. At least when I lived in LA, that was when I talked to people, that was the impression they had of Ohio. And that was so
Wow.
not my upbringing growing up in the martial arts. And
Yeah.
the first real book I read, you'll get was Dala Jeet Kune Do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
And that,
pretty heavy reading for a kid.
it was. I mean, of course, I had to go back to it over and over again, but the
Yeah.
first chapter being on Zen had a
Yeah.
huge influence on me. Uh,
And this concludes the abbreviated version of the podcast. Please consider supporting the program by going to www.patreon.com/malmag and subscribing to the show. You can also purchase this individual episode or any individual episode at our Gumroad page. That's malmag.gumroad.com. Thank you for listening to this episode with Jeremy Lovejoy. Coming up next week, I connect to South Carolina and I talk to one funny character, Ed Stahl. Our Malmag online store at martialartslifestylemagazine.com has a full selection of Timmy B's brand sticks for FMA and Krabiker Bong. Timmy B's brand now selling in Japan as well. Beautiful Timmy B's brand shirts and Dos Manos shirts are available with new t-shirt designs and more products coming soon. An online course in the Dos Manos method for FMA is available under the Courses tab. More courses coming soon. Check out the Places to Train tab to find schools near you, and click on the events calendar page to see what seminars and events are happening all around the world. And of course, visit our main page for articles on the martial arts. Music by Jackal Relic. Martial Arts Lifestyle Magazine and the Martial Arts Lifestyle Podcast are trademarked and copyrighted by TNT LLC.